All right, well guys, what are we doing today? Today we are finally fixing up the Volvo. The 15K Volvo that we got about almost 2 years ago already, guys. Has been absolutely great. It is just a workhorse. But we've had our first major breakdown. I wouldn't say major, but it is the most expensive one so far. About 474 bucks. Some might laugh, 474 bucks. Yeah, it's actually the biggest expense I've had so far is the 474 bucks. And that's the fan clutch, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and throw on a new fan clutch and show you guys how it's done. Watched a few videos, doesn't look too hard, so I think we should knock it out in about 2 hours, maximum maybe 3 hours. Now that we basically got the fan out of the way, sitting in there, if you remove those 2 bolts on top, you could basically bend this back. This is a rubber piece, I thought this was plastic. This is enough to basically reach your hand behind the fan. But I also unbolted this fan so you could actually move all of this and have complete access to the front of the fan. So now what we did is we removed all the 6 bolts and we could just pull this whole piece right on out. And what we had to do is we had to remove that brake shoe looking thing because it was stuck in a way where I couldn't reach the inner bolts. So when you remove this brake shoe right here, is holding by 2, 4, 6 little Allen keys. What it lets you do is it lets you spin the front part to line up your Allen wrench to get the inner bolts out from the main hub. Because otherwise my bolts are actually way off. So that's why I had to remove this brake shoe in order to spin this over. But it's kind of weird, right? This thing seized up. It looks like it's been replaced recently as well. It doesn't look like in that bad of a shape. I mean, this brake shoe definitely looks like it has some gunk on it and stuff like that. But not too bad, guys. I'd say so far I'm probably about an hour in. So I'd say putting back together might go a little bit easier now that I know what to do. And this seal is completely torn. Look at this thing. Wow. It's like basically gone. There's no seal left here at all. Now, guys, on this side, all I had to do was just remove the bolts holding the reservoir and just move it out of the way. No need to drain anything at all. That way it gives you access to do everything from here. You could bend this back and look at all that access. Actually is enough room to pull out the fan, but I just said, you know what, screw it. There's just enough room to get my wrench in and to get all the bolts on. There's 6 bolts holding the fan, and then the fan clutch, there's another 6 bolts holding it to the main hub. I decided to leave everything on there. I didn't want to mess with the belts. Removing that big hub, it's huge. So you know what we just did? I think this is a lot easier way. And guys, believe it or not, this is about like 5 or 6 hours of labor. Dealership would be about $2,000 to get this done. And on this side, all I had to do was basically remove the top of the intercooler piping. And that's pretty much it. This one holding basically 4 bolts on this side. If you want to move this out of the way. And this one's just holding with that big bracket right there. You remove 2 bolts on top, 2 bolts on the bottom. Basically right there, 2 bolts. You actually don't even have to remove them. You just loosen them up and the bracket will slide right off. And you got 1 bolt right here and another one on top. Very easy, guys. Not that difficult. So yeah, this is actually, we actually picked this up from Kenworth. It was 474 bucks. Here's the part number if anybody wants it. These are good for Cummins ISX for the Volvos. Got instructions, got all your grease, your bolts, your Allen keys. Just compare these two. They look to be exactly identical. The back side. Here's our front side. Yeah, we got exactly 100% identical one. Because they do have, this part number also has a little bit of different style without these bolts. That will still fit. I don't really know why they have these bolts in. Because you're not going to use these bolts anyways. These are kind of useless. They probably made these to be fit a wider variety of trucks. That way they don't have to make so many units. They just have 1 unit for the whole entire fleet of trucks. So yeah, let's put this one on. So now what I'm doing is I got my little helper right there, the PV blaster can. I'm just kind of keeping that hub set on there. And I'm just putting those 6 bolts, inner bolts, back to the hub. Pretty simple, guys. Now, guys, what I'm gonna do is just give it a little bit of compressed air straight to the line and see if it engages. Perfect. All we did is just use a little bit of compressed air. We disconnected from that solenoid, that switch. It's actually a normally closed. This says, what is it? Just a switch, basically, that gives power to that fan clutch. Once it sends air in, that fan clutch is closed, and that's what makes your fan spin. That's why in the mornings when you start it up, you have no air in the system, and your fan is usually on. Now we're just gonna connect this thing back in, and just one bolt at a time. We're putting those nuts and counter washers in. Just enough room for your hand to slide in right here. And a little fooling around while we're putting on that fan clutch.
This might look, I'm driving this. Look.
You're so funny. All we got left is just screw these on. And tighten those middle ones up. There we go, the fan is off. Barely spinning now. Working good. Now guys, if you want to install a manual fan switch, all you have to do is tap into your fan switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into one of these wires right here and basically make my own fan switch because I do not have one. There we go guys, wasn't too hard. It's in. We're gonna throw on a few new sensors like the IMAP sensor right here. We got a diverter valve for the EGR system. We are throwing in a brand new performance turbo next week, guys, so I might make a video on that. Basically it's from an ATS performance diesel. This has a quicker spool. The wheel inside it is heat treated with some special coating, so should be a nice little upgrade because that turbo is kind of already lagging. It's been throwing a few VGT codes here and there. Still runs and drives, but like I don't want to get stuck somewhere with a bad VGT actuator, so we're gonna go ahead and throw in that new turbo next week. It's already on the way. So yeah guys, catch you guys on the next one.